ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Owen Evans.
Okay, so this is a talk about my dad, but please don't be worried. It'll only be a little bit sentimental, and in the end it will have a message, or at least I hope it will. But you'll have to wait a bit to work out what it is. And this is a bit of interpretive dance for somebody in the front. This is my dad, Mr. Alan Evans, FRCOG. Those initials means that he's a surgeon. More specifically, he's a gynecologist, which to most people out there means that he probably delivers babies, but to my school friends it meant that he worked looking at women's bits. Children can be cruel. Really, however, he's a gynecological oncologist, try saying that first, which means he specializes in female cancer. He was always professional and never really spoke about his work at home, so most I can only glean, but needless to say, it was not an easy job. I specifically remember returning home one summer from university after an 8-hour train ride, Newcastle to Cardiff, in case anybody's wondering, and came off grumbling about exams, the ride, the passengers, and all the things of that matter. To which he replied, he just told a 20-something-year-old girl that she had 6 months left to live. He always had a way of bringing us down to earth with a bump. However, this isn't a talk about his job, which he retired from a few years ago. He's also a great father. We were always well looked after, and I'll not deny we had a very privileged upbringing, being the youngest son of a consultant surgeon. However, this isn't a talk about that either. Well, actually, I'm quarter of the way through, so I guess 25% of this talk has been about what this talk isn't about. So in 2010, my dad, cozy, white, middle class, retired, stopped digging his allotment, of which he does a hell of a lot, and all the other jobs that were keeping him busy, and got on a plane to a small African country. You may well have heard of it. It's called Sierra Leone. Let me share some facts about Sierra Leone with you. Sierra Leone is one of the top 10 diamond-producing countries in the world. It has huge natural reserves of gold, titanium, and bauxite. However, 70% of the population live in abject poverty. And most people think of Sierra Leone as being about blood diamonds, and a war that left the country without any skilled workforce and 50,000 people dead. Not a great place to live. And yet, here was my dad going to help, to be part of Mercy Ship's only land-based facility, in the heart of Freetown. For those of you who don't know the work of Mercy Ships, they're essentially ships that stop off in ports around the world with doctors and facilities and give treatment to the very needy around the world. So here he was, in the middle of Freetown, delivering babies to women who would quite literally walk out of the jungle in labor. And they'd have blood hemoglobin levels of 5 as opposed to the Western average of 13 milligrams per deciliter. That's bad, in case you didn't know. While he was there, his best achievement was that no children died, although apparently they die later on. In the end, with a country with a life average of 122 deaths per 1,000 live births, what can you really expect? However, they also have the highest maternal death rate too, oh joy, at 2,000 per 100,000 live births, which is the highest in the world. So I guess the fact that no women died on his watch was also something to be proud of too. With my wife expecting our second child, that's a scary set of figures to me. Sierra Leone is desperately poor. The people survive on chickens and grass. Literally grass was the story my dad conveyed, as people would pick what they could find. And with little hope of employment, the national pastime seems to be sleeping in the sweltering heat. But there again was my dad, finding he was the only one to cover emergency cesareans in a country with few doctors. Once he got to meet the British consulate to try and help them make improvements, only to be called back on an emergency, which left him traveling 90 minutes across town back to the hospital. 90 minutes for an emergency. These people aren't poor of spirit or will, they've just been dealt a bad set of cards by some greedy people who are driven by power, wiping out a whole generation of educated workers. There's no reason Sierra Leone should be poor apart from a big bloody civil war. So my dad went and did his bit, and then he went again, this time to Somaliland, to do more of what he could to help. People who have more worries than what date the iPhone 4S will be released. I'm not long into fatherhood myself, and as such, it forces you to reflect on a few things. Once, when we were younger, I distinctly remember a line my dad said to me. "Son," he said, because, of course, in my memory, everybody talks like a good strapping fellow. "Son, we chose to have you, you didn't choose to have us." By which he meant there were certain responsibilities that a parent bringing in a child into the world, and nothing is guaranteed. So it's safe to say that I hope I can be half the father my dad has been to me. But the real message from this talk is that it's never too late to inspire someone. So as you go home tonight, remember, somewhere, someone younger than you has been told they have no time left. And think about what you should do with the time you have. Inspire someone and enjoy it. Thank you.